Hello and welcome to the new video. If this is your first time here, my name is Hannah and today I wanted to share with you all the books that I have read in February, the updates on my book blanket, and also what I would like to read in March. Hi, so as per usual, I would like to start with some stats from February. February was such a short month, but I still managed to read and listen to a good amount of books. So let's have a look at some of the stats from my story graph. So, in the month of February, I have read 12 books, 1,882 pages, and 68.3 hours of audio. The top 4 moods for February were dark, mysterious, tense, and adventurous. The top genres I've read in February, there will be no shock there, were horror, LGBTQIA+, young adult, fantasy, thriller, and sci-fi. We have some romance, we have some mystery as well, but these are the main genres I've read in February. 50% of the books that I have read in February were via audio, 33% in print, and 17% in a digital form. I have rated and reviewed 12 books in February, and my average star rating was 3.75 star. I also had one DNF, and that was a book for my self-distracting books, and you'll hear more about that book in the upcoming episode for that series. So now let's have a look at the ratings graphic from Storygraph, where you can see all the covers of the books that I have read in February with the respective ratings. In no specific order, we have Moonstone, 4-star. I really enjoyed that historical fantasy from Laura Purcell. It was a fun read. Then we have Michael Crichton, The Andromeda Strain. I rated that book 5 stars. That was a book that I have read for my self-distracting books last month, and I love that book. There will be a link to the video where I read some of these books in the description box below. Then we have an audiobook, A Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes by Suzanne Collins, and I have rated that book 5 stars. I loved it, and I loved the movie, and I loved the entire series. And I cannot wait for the Sunrise on the Reaping to come out in March. Then we have 2 books from Rory Power. The main book is Wilder Girls. I rated that one 5 stars, and it's a survival horror including a lot of going-ons with nature and some sci-fi a little bit as well, and this is set in an isolated place in the woods, in wilderness, in a private boarding school, and I really enjoyed that book. And prior to that, I have read a short story by Rory Power, What We Did When You Were Gone, and this is kind of like a prequel. It's not necessary to read, but I think it's useful to read because it shows the dynamic of the relationship between the girls in a boarding school, and I have rated that one 4 stars. For such a short story, I think the author created so much tension and so much drama that it deserved to be rated 4 stars. Then we have a Mexican Gothic by Silvia Moreno Garcia, and I've read this one via audio, and unfortunately I rated it 2 stars, and I didn't really enjoy this book. I didn't vibe with it at all. It reminded me a little bit of What Moves the Dead by T. Kingfisher, but I think T. Kingfisher did it better. Then we have a magnum opus by Caitlin Marceau, if I'm not mistaken, and I believe that was on Kindle Unlimited, and I've rated this one 4 stars. And it was a story of 2 women. Both of them are writers, and one of them gets jealous of the other one's success and things go wrong. And it was a cool, very cool reflection on how the choices that we make in life affect us long term and how much influence they have over our life. I really enjoyed that one, 4 stars. Then we have another audiobook, and that was an extreme horror book, Playground by Aaron Beauregard, and I rated that book book 3 stars. This was a very thrashy extreme horror that kind of reminded me of like the 90s and 80s horror movies. I don't know if I can say I enjoyed this one. I can say I enjoyed the gore and the way it made me feel uncomfortable, and I've rated that one 3 stars. And then we have Seed by Anya Alborn. I've rated that book 4 stars. I've listened to this as an audiobook as well. This book is available on Kindle Unlimited, and this is a story of a possession of a little girl, and following her story we find out what happened to the father when he was a boy himself. There's a very disturbing scene at the very end, but I really enjoyed that one, and I am on a mission currently to read Anya Alborn's backlist. Then we have The Brothers Hawthorne, and that was a book that my brother got me for my birthday. I didn't plan on continuing the series, but as it was a gift, I was like, oh God, I'm gonna give it a go. I rated it 4 stars. It was just as fun as the rest of the Inheritance Games series. Then I have read A Dark and Drowning Tide by Alison Saft. I have read that book part physically. I started physically, and then I decided to read via audio because I didn't gel with this book and I was really struggling physically reading it. Audio helped a little bit, but still I ended up rating it only 2 stars. And if you want to hear more of my thoughts on this book, I have recently posted a video which is specifically dedicated to this book. I'm trying to do a series of videos where I read my Illumicrate and Locked Library books, and this one was part of that series. So check the link in the description box below. And in the meantime, I will tell you about the last book that I have read in February, and that is The Ruins by Scott Smith. It was a survival horror. I quite enjoyed some of the descriptions in this book, but it was lacking something for me to make it a 4 star. It was a 3-star read for me, regardless of the fact I do recommend it, and I cannot wait to watch a movie based on that book. So that's the stats for February 2025. Let me now show you the updated book blanket. So this is the blanket. So these are my January going into the February books, finishing with The Ruins by Scott Smith with this lovely denim color. Is the color that I use for my 3-star books. This is what it looks like so far. I am so excited about this blanket. I actually was doing single rows for each book, and then I decided it looked too busy. I didn't like it. I pulled it apart and I started from scratch, and now I'm doing double rows. So we have 2 rows of the same color for each book, and I think once it's finished it's going to look amazing. And I'm already thinking about what sort of border I will do for this blanket. I'm thinking hot pink. I think it's gonna go so well with these blues. Okay, so now we can talk about my very ambitious reading plans for March. There are some books that I have started in February, and these books will be the first books that I will be reading in March. The 2 of them I am reading for my self-distracting books, and I don't necessarily want to show you the titles of these books that I'm reading now. You will have to wait and see for the next episode of the self-distracting books. But this one, about 6 chapters in, and here I'm about this much in, less than 20%, I think. I'm maybe heading towards 30. So I am taking these books over too much with me. The next book that I have started in February and I haven't finished, unfortunately, again, I've read about 15 chapters of this book, is The Crimson Moth by Kristen Ciccarelli. And we all know Witch and Witch Hunter, a love story, enemies to lovers, romantasy. Everybody knows about this book. Everybody is raving about this book. And I already have a sequel to this book, The Rebel Witch. So as soon as I finish reading this one, I would like to read The Rebel Witch. This reads so easy, and I'm really enjoying the writing style of Kristen Ciccarelli, and I cannot wait to continue with this one and then jumping straight into the sequel. And then I have another book that I absolutely cannot wait to read. This will definitely be read after The Rebel Witch, because I've had this book on my floor, on my bedroom floor, for the good few weeks now. And I absolutely cannot wait to read it. And the book that I'm talking about is The Favorites by Lane Fargo. And people are saying that this is kind of like Daisy Jones and the Six story, but involving ice skating. And when I was a girl, I used to love figure skating during the Olympics, and I feel like it will be such a melancholic and nostalgic experience for me, remembering how I used to love watching dancing on ice. And yeah, I just cannot wait. I loved Daisy Jones and the Six, so if the hype is right, I'm predicting a 5-star read with this one. And then I want to concentrate on reading and filling and ticking the boxes on my horror bingo board. The first book that I will be reading for my horror bingo is The Reformatory by Tananarive Due. I actually have this as an audiobook. So as soon as I finish the audiobook that I'm listening to now, I will be listening to this one. And this is a historical horror. And I think this is set in a school for boys where there is a very bad teacher and things happen. That's all I know. And I will be reading this one for my BIPOC author. I already have my 3 physical reads. I hope that I will be able to read all 3 of them. If a miracle happens and I will have time for more physical reads, I have a stack of books here that I will be reading physically, and I'll be choosing from to read physically because I have no audiobooks for these books. So I will show you these books. These are not my plans. These are my options. These are my TBR possibilities for March. And the first one is The Rats by James Herbert. And by the way, all of these books that I will be showing you now, these are all for my horror bingo board, and I will use this one for out of my comfort zone. The next one I have is Girls of Little Hope, and I would like to read this for a multiple point of view. And then we have The End Times Are Near, and for this I would like to read Brian Keane, Dead Sea. And then for Cryptid, I have selected John Langan, The Fisherman. And then we have a short story collection, and for this I actually have 2 options. So I might read 13 Chairs, which is 13 stories from 13 horror stories, or I might actually read this. This is a magazine, so it's technically not a book, not a novel, but it is a collection of short stories. These are authors that, like you and I. Anyone can send the story to this magazine, and chances are you will be published. I think this is either issue 1 or issue 2 of this magazine. This is a brand new magazine. So I kind of want to try it out. And I think there's like 8 stories in this one, so I think it could be a quick read. More options I have for my horror bingo board. The Doll by Yrsa Sigurdardóttir, and this is an Icelandic author, and I would like to give myself this book as an option for a translated work. I'm just sitting here and I'm thinking how crazy this is, because I am sure I am not going to read all of these books, but at least I will have something to pick from. And the last option that I have to read for March is Onyx Storm by Rebecca Yarros. I was going to read this in February. I haven't, so I'm moving this to March, and hopefully I will find time to read this because I want to read this physically. You were probably watching this and thinking, Hannah, you are mad. How are you going to ever read this? I know I won't be able to. So I'm just hoping that first of all, I'll be able to finish reading the 2 books I'm reading for my self-destruct video, for my episode 2 of that series. Then my second goal is to read those 3 physical books. So 2 books in Crimson Moth series and The Favorites, the ice skating book. And well, The Reformatory, that's a given because that's an audiobook, so I will definitely listen to this one. And the rest of them are options and purely just options. And I feel like having a options TBR also will allow me to read according to my mood, which I don't always do and I actually like doing. So that's it. That's my very ambitious TBR for March. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments if you have read any of these books, and don't forget to like this video if you think I am mad thinking I can read all of that. In the meantime, please check out the latest video that I've posted. You should be seeing that on the screen. And for now, I thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye.